And a blood for the blood god to all of you. RuinusInsight here, welcoming you to part 1 of a brand new modded Total Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign. SFO Grimhammer III Skarbrand. Khorne was chosen by community vote, and I ultimately decided on Skarby as I haven't touched him since Warhammer 3 released. It's been a minute, and it's about time that I check him out. Before we lose ourselves in his incoherent rage, though, housekeeping. Mod-wise, all mod info is in the description below. Plug-wise, check out our Discord and join the Ruinous host. Consider joining the channel or becoming a Patreon to get access to perks like exclusive votes, or support the channel by purchasing games through our affiliates in the description below. The community vote for the next set of campaigns should now be up in the channel posts tab, so head on over and make your voices heard. And lastly, big shout out to the modders, and as always, the biggest of shout outs to you guys for all your comments and support. Anyway, let's take a quick look at the faction. So, faction-wise, the only thing Khornates hate more than everyone else is other Khornates. I joke, but I'm kind of surprised that this isn't a diplomatic relations reduction with all factions, but I suppose it's good for us that it isn't. Our armies do replenish an enemy territory, which is amazing alone, and we replenish movement range after raising, which is probably going to combine nicely with that automatic ruin colonization that Khornate factions get. Our global recruitment is further significantly reduced in enemy territory, which I suppose is going to further incentivize being on the attack at all times. Go figure. Now, obviously, Skarbrand is the bloodthirster guy, so he gives the Rage of Khorne ability to all his bloodthirsters, which will probably be fairly useful. And in his own army, those same bloodthirsters are fielded for significantly cheaper and get the very nice Gore Feast ability, which will allow them to heal themselves in melee. Plus, Soul Grinders do get these same buffs. Lastly, Skarbrand gets way more of the Skulls currency for killing, which makes sense as he wants to work his way back to Khorne's good graces by, you guessed it, getting more skulls. And he's kind of upset about the whole thing, so he also has that Rage embodied ability, which is very nice in providing a sort of relatively short range, forced rampage to enemies nearby, and I suppose lowering their melee defense. Anyway, settings or setup wise, we're going with vanilla very hard or SFO hard and very hard, as I find that to be the sweet spot, plus the AI stats modifier dialed all the way up to the max. I believe that's it for me, so all glory to the algorithm, and let's get to it.
Throughout this land in a tide of blood, Khorne commands it.
Ooh, I forgot how much I like Skarbrand's voice. Not my favorite in the game by any means, but a pretty darn good one. I actually really like it when he talks a little bit quieter, but maintains that sort of guttural speech pattern that he's got, like he does in his selection screen at the start. But anyway, oh wow, look at that. This is probably the shortest how they play I've seen, but I guess it's in keeping with, you know, Khorne's ethos, so it does make sense. Pretty obvious. We fight to make money, we must harvest the skulls of the fallen to get the skull currency, and then we can use that to occupy settlements, as well as dedicate the skulls to the skull throne, which gives us various temporary buffs for both our armies and our blood host armies. Other than that, I do believe the only thing we have is the unholy manifestations, which gives us a few small abilities depending on the amount of Khornate corruption there is across the entire world. So we can summon a small army, which is generally speaking best used to recover movement range or force other enemy garrisons to sally when you're just out of range. It's really useful, and If only... I wonder if we can get the turn cooldown to be shorter. But anyway, we got the take control of an occupied settlement, or a ruin rather. We've got the character XP gain increase, and we've got the target settlement to be raised. And that's about it. Pretty simple, unga bunga, as little diplomacy as possible, just kill things. That's Khorne for you. And so, no more thinking. Let's take our first skulls in our first cinematic battle. We've got our starting Blood Reaper, who has Bloodseeker. Character XP gain, that's kind of terrible, but we'll probably replace you with another. In fact, wait, do we start with a Blood Reaper building? We got Slaughterer, which is sundering attacks, another Bloodseeker, Bloodright, Heroic Killing Blow, and runs a magic per turn, I might just replace you with one of these, but we wouldn't be doing that this turn anyway. Or actually, we potentially would if we hit Ogrel Migdal, but what we do want to do now is hit Sneak Armbreaker. Alright, Skarbrand versus Sneak, here we go.
My wrath is bound to last. Only slaughter can sate it. Then more slaughter.
Alrighty, here we go. Say what you want about Khorne as a sort of Unga Bunga style faction, but you got to love Skarbrand's model, and he's also very entertaining to watch fight, which we will be witnessing momentarily. Now, it's a first battle, so the likelihood of actually losing is unlikely, but we still got to take it seriously. It is savage orcs after all, and they are not to be underestimated, though funnily enough, being a demonic faction, the Savage Orcs are kind of countered by what we've got going on, aren't they? We're very good in melee, and we counter their Warpaint with magical damage on our demonic units, so yeah. Anyway, Skarbrand is going to lead his way into the fray, forcing the units of Savage Orc Arrow Boys into Rampage, while we send our unit of Chaos Warhounds of Khorne, sacrificing them to pin the units of Savage Orc Boar Boys in this tree line, and then allowing the Bloodletters to engage them in the trees. This completely screws over the unit of Boar Boys, and certainly is worth taking the damage on those Warhounds, especially since we'd be replacing them with Fleshhounds of Khorne anyway, and I don't see any need to worry too much about them. Plus they'll recover. Anyway, Skarbrand has in the meantime closed the distance with the enemy Lord, who has let out a desperate wah bellow as he himself attempts to escape, and keeps getting knocked to the ground by Skarbrand, who is probably not letting him leave alive. At least not with his skull intact. Otherwise, our units of Chaos Warriors of Khorne are pinning the enemy in place and taking the brunt of the damage, while our units of Bloodletters dish the damage out. One more hit from Skarby, looks like it will take out the enemy Lord, who gets crushed beneath his bulk by the looks of it. And now it's only a matter of time until this first battle is ours. And by the looks of it, one unit remains in the fight, a unit of Savage Orcs out here. Oh no, looks like the poor units of Savage Orc Boar Boys are still in the fight, but are unable to escape the tree line, and frankly, they are almost at the same speed as the Bloodletters are. And the stragglers keep getting re-engaged by the Bloodletters, not allowing these guys to really leave, which is working very nicely. And Skarbrand rear charges one enemy unit that was in the fight with the Chaos Warriors of Khorne, who were alone without Bloodletters to lend their higher damage to the killing. But by the looks of it, the last units are now routing, and with that, the first little enemy army shatters, and the battle is ours. Primarily the damage to our Chaos Warriors and a little bit of the dogs, but otherwise I don't think I have anything to be concerned about. Alrighty, there we go. Nice little debut fight, especially by the looks of it for the little bloodletters who were able to hack apart those war-painted savage orcs with gusto. We did have to sacrifice our Chaos Warhounds of Khorne, taking damage, but allowing them to pin the savage orc boar boys in place beneath the canopy of the trees, where the anti-large debuff saw them get, well, helped the bloodletters annihilate them. 18k damage on Skarbrand, even without any abilities and a level 1. He's already a monster, and, well, I can't wait to see what heights we can take him to. What we have here, I take it we're immediately going to want to start recruiting stuff. I guess in our own territories, so we will go for the Offerer's Tribute. Tempting though it is to get the... Ooh, 356 skulls. We're gonna need a lot of skulls to colonize. I think we'll probably want to colonize our first province as well. But anyway, we'll go for Offerer's Tribute, just for the recruitment cost reduction, so we can get a few extra troops. Alrighty, enemy killed in battle. There's that Scarecrow banner. Ally mission successful, or just mission successful rather, not ally. And capture and occupy Agrul Migdal. Sure, to be sure. Sure. Combat trials enables attrition. Oh, we probably want to top up our magic so we don't go down into the reductions, don't we? Feral Rage, we could pop into that just so that... Oh, actually, I was about to say just so we end the turn there, but I'm not actually sure that this would be of aid to us here. What do we have in terms of defenses? There's not much. I wonder if we could just auto-resolve what it is here. Just very quickly fight it. It'll kill the dogs. Can we actually recruit new dogs? I'm not entirely sure. Give me a second. Alright, Def Gorge. There's iron here at Gorgazan. Wait a moment. Iron gives us the recruitment cost reduction for all mortal units, not demonic units, meaning we'll want the tier 5 Death Gorge to be immortal, a Chaos Dreadhold rather than a Dimensional Cascade, because we'll want to build the units that could be recruited cheaper thanks to the Iron's presence, meaning we'll actually want to switch you. I assume the infrastructure buildings remain the same, so if we can immediately start switching you to the Dark Bastion, well, as soon as we have money, we'll probably want to build the growth thing, which is you, War Amphitheater. Yeah. And where do we recruit dogs from? We recruit them from the kennels, which we don't have as yet, which we will want to get. Yes. I guess it also means deleting the Cornate Calefactor here, but anyway. What do we have to start with? Growth per region plus 10 after... Okay, yeah, that's the one. Well, Casualty Punishment Trade is nice, but... by the looks of it, Khorne doesn't have the ability to uncollect income, I guess since the income is so little anyway, since we're getting most of our income from battle, so we don't get the growth boost that we would get as any other faction by uncollecting the income in SFO at any rate. Anyway, yeah, we'll save the skulls for occupying our first main province, then we'll use Ruin Occupation for the next province. I assume this is also... Yeah, top knots have 5 settlements. Okay, fair enough. Alright, I guess we'll just fight this super quickly just to preserve our units so we don't have to sit here for several turns. Alright, fight battle. I'm just going to manually fight this at max speed, essentially. And there's no threat here. I guess the only potential threat is the ranged units because the Savage Orc Error Boys are anti-large, but obviously no real threat. Alright, and just real quick, yeah, I somewhat regret now sacrificing those dogs, but whatever, what can you do? Alright, so the demonic units are faster, so we can put you... Well, you know what, we'll put you behind this unit, maybe like this. Put you on the flanks, put you here, and then put you here. Dogs, stay out of it. I mean, I guess we could use you to chase stuff later on. Okay. And then... you can go on this side. Alright, good enough. Let's move. Let's put you all right here, and speed up to max. Alright, wait. You guys are going a little bit too fast. I want the tankier units out front, so they're the ones that take the range hits, at least at first. Speed it back up to max. Get everybody into position. Like so. You can advance. You can... Actually, if you really wanted to, you could rush towards the Savage Orc Air Boys. I don't really care. Yeah, you guys go this way. Dogs get around them to charge them. Scarby, get ready to annoy the enemy lord. In fact, maybe force the Savage Orc Error Boys into rampage while the Bloodletters charge them. Actually, maybe these Bloodletters. Alright, good. The enemy range units are attacking the shielded units and thus not doing a lot of damage. You get ready to force rampage. You get ready to move. In fact, go this way. Alright, come on, force that rampage. You guys get behind him. Slaneshi giggle. And good. Rampage forced. There we go, we've engaged. And pretty simple, you guys attack, you guys attack, you guys get ready to hit the enemy in the back, and everybody's engaged that we want to. Actually, I would prefer that you guys don't take the brunt of the hits here, but, you know, all good. Hey, Skarby, move a little bit forward to force the other Savage Orcs into Rampage, if you please. And, I thought that by proximity they would have just started rampaging. There we go. Just lose their melee defense a teensy bit. Alright, Skarbrand is gonna help that out. And I would like you guys to now back off very slightly so that the damage is being taken by the Chaos Warriors of Khorne rather than you. And then just move back in. Alright, beautiful. And we could loop around, but I just don't think there's any. Alright, you guys will be locked in the fight for a while. It's the Bloodletters that we expect to do damage. I'd like you to withdraw and then return to the fight. You rear charge the Savage Orc Air Boys. That will cause them a nice little morale shock while we buff everybody with the Horn of Khorne. The Horn. The Horn, whatever. Shut up. Alright, dogs charge on in, and frankly I'm surprised they didn't interrupt, but I guess they activated their WAD exactly the right time not to do so. There we go. Skarby, go help out the main blob here. I will have you, Bloodletters, rear charge this unit of Savage Orcs. Frankly, could have done it with Skarbrand, but I think we need more help here. Alright, you guys are good now, and Bloodletters back out again. I'd like you to hit the enemy in the flanks now. And we can just speed it up now. There we go. Skarby smash into the enemy's rear lines. You guys will get torn to shreds. You guys give chase to whatever is there. You charge on, and once again we have 30 seconds until we can reactivate this, but we should be fine. I feel like you don't even need to flank. These units are dead, and the Bloodletters are fast enough to chase them down. I think the same thing is here, and the enemy should be routing shortly. Alright, you attack this. You attack this. Ignore the error, boys. 10 seconds. Alright, let's just watch them whack away at each other for a minute or so. Or 10 seconds. That's not quite the minute. There we go. Oh, you gotta love the sheer amount of splash damage that Skarby dishes out. And again, the bloodthirsters, the exalted bloodthirsters, and Skarby himself are just so darn entertaining. One of my favorite units to watch in the game, just generally speaking. They're just that fun. Alrighty, you. Let's, I guess we might potentially get more skulls out of chasing the enemy down. I'm not actually entirely sure, but, you know, it's gonna take an extra, what, like 30 seconds? I don't see why, I don't see why not, essentially. And Skarby, chase this down because you're a little bit faster. Blood, oh, don't stop. You're not in guard mode. How dare you stop? And you, don't move in column formation. What is it with this column nonsense? Alright, you guys are looking good. Don't get in the way of the Bloodletters. Chaos Warriors of Khorne, you tanked stuff. Although, not just tanked, 101 kills on you. 94, 137, they're keeping a pace despite the them being sword and board. Well, to be fair, regular Chaos Warriors of Khorne are also like 30% or so more expensive than regular Bloodletters are. I think it's 200 upkeep versus 300 upkeep or something like that, if I recollect correctly. So it does make sense that they're pretty darn tanky and also pretty darn killy, but I suppose if there's any Khornate unit that isn't killy, they're corning wrong. Anyway, yeah, it's 2.5k to occupy. For other territories later on, we'll probably just Skulls for the Skulls throwing it up and allow this to colonize it, but since this is our first province, I'm disinclined to wait. Really? Potion of Farsight? Ooh, range. I guess the Armor Sundering for one use is something, but yeah, relatively useless, but hopefully we can turn it into something more useful. You got a War Amphitheater, which is fine, minus the fact that we will most likely want to make this, well, -1 territory, I suppose, but almost entirely a non-demonic province. I guess if we switch Death Gorge to Dark Bastion, we can make Gorgazan a Dark Bastion as well, and then keep this place demonic. Something like that, anyway. Anyway, Skarby, let's get you a little bit of XP flowing out of that inspiring presence, and your little Blood Reaper friend leveled up as well, though, again, I am somewhat inclined to just delete you and then immediately replace you. Thundering attacks will help in the early game a fair bit. Wait, do these guys have any kind of contact effect, generally speaking? None here, but that doesn't mean that they won't eventually find one. Blood Throne... Okay, so none of you have any kind of contact effects. Passive ability Hungering Blades for you. We'd have to choose between that and Icon of Slaughter. And this gives you heal. It also does the Searing Flame imbuement, though, which is rather nice, if nothing else, for the fire weakness. Even if not, wait, or does it do fire weakness? I don't remember. Yes, it does. Minus 10 armor. Oh, it's like a mini Sundering. But again, at the cost of fight or die, which would buff everybody around you. Yeah, maybe. Maybe we still take the Sundering guy. Slaughterer gives you charge bonus as well. The funny thing is there's probably better ones, as in better options, but we just don't see them right now. Let's just keep this guy. Your self-defense chance. Can we use you as any? Okay, you got spread control, increased mobility, and assassinate. I don't really like any of those. I don't like it. Alright, disband. Re-recruit. Blood Reaper, let's go for the Sundering guy, and then we can always switch it out to a different guy later. The first son... I'm not reading that. And then what do we have here? Powerful, Bone Crusher, another contact effect, and Glorious Charge, Disdainful, and Corpse Collector. Weapon Strength plus 10%. And Blood Speaker, we got Mauler. Upkeep reduction for Chaos Warriors of Khorne, but none for... None for Wrathmongers and stuff like that, and Sundering attacks again. I'm still inclined to say go with this. The extra 25 armor will also help you on the Blood Shrine. Also, interestingly, the Blood Speaker is cheaper. Now, Blood Speakers, you have a full army speed upgrade, don't you? Yeah, you do. Speed plus 15%. And Strider for the entire army. So we could always make use of Mauler to mix Chaos Knights with the Wrathmongers and Skull Reapers. Obviously not in ridiculous numbers, because it would be obnoxious, especially in SFO. But anyway, I like it. We'll keep an eye on... Well, actually, we'll probably get a few of the different types of lords just to see what they can do and try to plan them out in advance. Let's get a few more of these bloodletters so that we can keep on going. Check Diplo real quick. Clan Moors is oftentimes an ally of Skarby, but I'm not entirely sure whether we actually will want to ally with him. Really, the main allies we will want are Chaos Dwarfs, primarily for access to Skullcrackers, because yes, and the Norskins for various things that would work nicely on our roster. But either way, and we will end the turn for now. Ooh, I just had an idea. No, we should swap out the army temporarily to Tavi, recruit next turn, but this would allow Skarby to go into the channeling stance. And we can top him up, because I assume he's going to be losing Winds of Magic per turn. Alright, I do see Malagor's down here. Oh, you know what I also want to see? I don't really want to spend 1,000,000 years fighting the Tomb Kings, though admittedly this will all be after we deal with the top knots anyway. But what I would like to see is what gold mines do for Khorne. Because I do know that there's a gold mine at Hemry, Time of Bounds. As in, no buffs at all, if you were wondering what that does. Gold mine is upkeep reduction, all army. Okay, well, that has to be done then. At the very least, to get Camry. Alright, so here what we'll want to do is you're going to pop into Demonic Portal. Then you're going to swap out Skarby's units. Like so. You're going to pop on in right there. I'm going to pop the first Sun-ish Horfern car. We did end up reading it. Like so, and then Skarby, what I would like you to do is... Oh, but you have the recruitment cost reduction. I guess you have it next turn as well. I'm not sure that we need more than this to conquer what's here, admittedly. We can also grab a couple of flesh hounds for... Oh, wow, I was about to say on the cheap, but they're really not cheap. I guess we could channel next turn then. Alright, sorry Skarby, then you're going to recruit anyway. And we'll have you channel next turn while we sit at Gorgazan. Let's grab a couple of flesh hounds, and oh, that's all we can afford? Well, if that's all we can afford, then that's all we can afford. We'll keep the war amphitheaters, and we will swap you into the Dark Bastion eventually. But I believe that's it. That's all we can do on the turn. We may also want to subjugate or vassalize the Beastmen here, though I do wonder whether... see, the problem with Beastmen as vassals is that you pretty much don't get access to any of their units, really. And because of these sort of mechanics that they must use to acquire their units. You can use a mod to get access to more of their units, though, so there is that thought. Although we can build Khorne Gores ourselves, and I think we wouldn't be able to get exalted Khorne Gores anyway. Anyway. Growth per region plus 10 after winning a battle. That's what we wanted. Skarby, can you mosey on into Gorgazan? You cannot. What about you, fella? By the looks of it, no. Alright, well then, I guess what we will do is Skarby, you will transfer to Tavi these flesh hounds. Tavi, you will go into raiding stance right here. And Skarby, you will go into combat trials. Like so. A little bit of free XP. But more importantly, a little bit of channeling because your mana is screwy. I guess we'll probably need to do that for a bit. Anyway, we've got a new tech available to us. I like the casualty or punishment rate, but I think since we're probably going to ruinate the territories after Gorgazan, i.e. Stormhenge and Gronti Mingle, and then probably occupy Galbaraz, we will want to have enough skulls to be able to do that, which we at the current time do not. And we'll want to save the money for additional recruitment, so no need for the war arena as of yet. Alright, looks good to me. Skip, enter. And I guess we could also summon another lord potentially at Gorgazan to check out what they've got in terms of their unique lines. And for them to sort of follow Skarby as we, well, leech XP and all that. So these guys don't have a army to actually defend Gorgazan? Well, sucks to be them, I suppose. And, oh, I spoke too soon, and the game, of course, decided that it needed to make me look like a fool. Alrighty, fair enough. Fair enough. Skarby, get your stuff back. And switch to regular stance. Yeah, and then well, I guess we're attacking Gorgazan and the additional units therein. Hello. Some more boys, more units to be certain. But I always love the sort of ramping up that the first battles in the game do. And ooh, I believe Khorne's Bloody Fist rather. I'm pretty sure you have two fists, but anyway. Yeah, Khorne's Bloody Fist serves us at level 4. Not free though, unfortunately, but I think to get another bloodthirster on field, I'm willing to pay. Go.
Throughout this land in a tide of blood, Khorne commands it.
Alrighty, here we go again. And once again, I love the sort of ramping up that we have with the enemy armies getting bigger and bigger, and our own doing the same. And just wait till we get to the final fight of the episode, which is going to be pretty darn big, even by comparison to this. Anyway, we are going to take a little bit of time and wait for our reinforcements to arrive. The very nice thing about the Blood Speakers is that they immediately have access both to Murderous Exhortations, which is an area of effect damaging ability, and Blood Sacrifice, which is essentially damage the unit, damage the Blood Speaker in order to give HP to another unit. So, Skarby will presumably take some damage from enemy Savage Orc Arrow Boys with all of those anti-large arrows that they have, but at the same time we should be able to, in theory, heal him up with that supporting Blood Speaker. And gotta keep it in mind for other supporting armies, should we have follower armies for other armies later on. Anyway, time for us to engage the enemy. Skarbrand will start heading uphill as the first unit. And we will send our Blood Reaper to lead a pile of Bloodletters in to try to go after the Savage Orc War Boys, and then follow up by smashing into their flanks with those Flesh Hounds, who I'm sure are hungry for some boar steak. And for skulls. Of Khorne does love his favorite little pups. Anyway, the enemy's right flank, or left flank, rather, is engaged. We're slower moving, admittedly, Chaos Warriors of Khorne now making their way uphill as well to distract as many enemies as possible while the Bloodletters once again dish out the damage. And as usual, it's going to be a good old-fashioned brawl. Skarbrand is also running around in the enemy backlines. Unfortunately, the AI smartly deployed its 3 units of Error Boys sort of far enough away from each other that we can't force all 3 of them, or even 2 of them, into Rampage. So Skarbrand is essentially going to bounce between them for a few for a few moments, until he can catch at least a few of them in Rampage or catch the enemy lord, which he appears to have done so. A savage orc great shaman with no melee defenses, relying on that physical resistance, and on top of that in Rampage against a melee monster like Skarbrand, needless to say, is not going to go well. Nor is it for those poor Error Boys that are left around the Savage Orc Great Shaman, who is now down to 10% of his HP. And a nice kick will... oh, no, not quite kill him. One more hit. I don't think he's getting out of there, though. Skarbrand is pretty darn quick, and it looks like he gets crushed. Lovely. With the enemy lord's fall, the enemy army is still on the field, but suffering tremendously. Our Bloodspeaker has also arrived to help out, popping off his murderous exhortations to do a little bit of damage, although admittedly, the enemy army is not so blobbed up that we can take too much advantage of it. But Skarbrand did lose about half of his HP to enemy range fire, and is now, if not quite topped up, certainly a lot healthier. I do love the red and green contrast that we've got in these particular fights. Always nice when fights are A, nice and visible because of the lighting, and also because units don't look exactly like other units, so we can see what the heck is going on. Although I suppose Khornate units attacking other Khornate units would also, you know, be pretty par for the course. Anyway, Savage Orcs with that will shatter once more, and the battle is ours. We'll take a few seconds to run down whatever enemies we can, but we'll do that off screen. Alright, there we go. Another nice little fight with us, taking a little bit of damage this time around, but the Bloodspeaker as support came in really handy, because even though Skarby lost about half of his HP to anti-large range fire from the Savage Orc Error Boys, we were able to heal him back up, which is quite lovely, and a good reason to use these guys as support units. Otherwise, the Bloodletters hacked apart many a Savage Orc, and the Fleshhounds, of course, did on par with or better than a lot of them, and that's Fleshhounds for you. And the Chaos Warriors of Khorne obviously took less damage, but also dealt less damage. Alrighty, now we'd only get 213 skulls out of this anyway, so I think, yeah, we'll occupy this, though I'm a little bit concerned about actually managing to rack up enough to occupy the settlement. But hopefully we'll have enough skulls by then. Let's just do it. Alrighty, again, I'm not really willing to wait for... Ooh, hello. Trophy racks gives us income from post-battle loot, income from raiding, income from sacking and looting, all of which will eventually come in handy, and we will want 1 billion of those structures. Though, the barrier idols we may use as a fortified sort of a line of stuff. Frankly, if we never go down here and bother, you know, taking these territories, or just raising them. Obviously we'd send an army down there, but not occupying them, since they're all yellow territories anyway. And we might essentially have some permanent fights here, though there are things to consider, like... Are there anything here is significant? Aha, so the Cultist Enclave of Salt is quite nice. Raiding, post-battle loot, and sacking and looting. There's... Oh, we can actually build Kofar Harbor. We hit... Oh, it's only 4 armies in province game. Melee attack +1 for own army's faction might, which is fine. Nothing crazy, though. I think, there might be another iron source here, though, and every single iron source gives 10 armor to our mortal units, right? 5 armor. Oh, it's 5 armor, but for everyone, including the lightly armored bloodletters. Okay, yeah, so we need to get every piece of iron we can get. Makes sense. Alrighty, then Skarby did not reach rank 4, unfortunately. We will also want to save points for Rage Incarnate. I am, however, inclined to say we could pick up Root Marcher at the very least. And we may need to travel after all. Then what I would like to do is you, Skarby, are going to go out here. You, Tavi, are going to go out here. Or in here. Skarby, you are going to transfer again all of your units while you switch to combat trials. It means no healing for you. It means no worries for the rest of your days. But yeah, we need that bumped up. And we'll need to be fighting a lot more, but we'll get to that. You have... funnily enough, you do still have 1 turn of Trophy of Glory, so we could still use you to recruit more stuff. We do have the money. Would we be able to reach this in 1 turn? We would. And how's your mana looking? We really need to get that mana up, but maybe we do use the last turn to recruit. A couple more dogs. I assume Skarbrand has access to Karanak, so eventually we'll want Karanak to have a few puppy friends, so... Yeah, let's get a couple more flesh hounds, maybe 1 more bloodletter. Alright. Gotta get a full stag going, and obviously eventually we'll also split off, so we'll want to be ready for that. Increase mobility, and I believe there's nothing else that we want to invest in. We're waiting for enough growth to upgrade these, though once again Gorgazan most likely want to upgrade to Dark Bastion. 2.5k and 1 growth, that should happen soon. What do we have here? Spill Blood gives melee attack plus 1% for all armies. Eventually we'll probably want to switch all of them to that. We got Control and Chance of Plague and Upkeep and... Oh! 10% recruitment cost reduction, funnily enough. Wait. This gives us a 10% recruitment cost reduction. Yeah, now what? Then I think we can just channel. And we can make use of the 10% recruitment cost reduction, as well as another lord, mind you, to get a... to get the recruitment going. Although I'm not super big on any of these lords, I will say. We got another Mauler. We could pick up another Mauler, just, you know, they look to be universally useful as blood speakers. May as well have a few extras. So I think that'll be the way to go. Yeah, alright, fine. We'll go for upkeep reduction and recruitment cost reduction. The income from all buildings doesn't really matter, and then we'll switch to control or growth or whatever it is that we will want to switch to later. Otherwise, I believe we're good, so we will skip. Oh, just the 1 skip. Fair enough, end turn. We can't trade, so diplomacy hardly matters. I don't know how long it'll be before Khemri attacks us. I believe they start at war with Numas, so there will be a little bit of Tomb King on Tomb King action going on down there, at least for a few turns. But then I assume due to aversion, they will probably immediately attack us as soon as they possibly can. And I assume that they have 100 aversion towards us, or is it 50? Let's find out. Now it's 50 with the mortals. It is 100, yeah, so no dice on that one. Alright, fair enough. Mission successful. Commandment. And there's that technology for colonization, which we will need out of here. Alright, Gleaming Pennant. We got skulls for owning 2 provinces. Working on it, game. Working on it. And then here, I guess we got to go with the casualty or punishment rate. Nothing here increases our skull collection, right? Or at least not in the early... Ah? No, it's for skull piles. Skulls from kills. Alright, so most likely we'll want to go to skull flensing as fast as possible. I guess we'll pick up Gift of Defiance, maybe even Bitter Rating, and then move to skull flensing immediately afterwards. Wait, though I do want to see... Army ability, Relentless Rage. Unbreakable, cannot die, unyielding assault for 30 seconds. 2 turns to get that. I would rather have the casualty or punishment. I think it's more important. Alrighty, Skarby, looks like you can indeed reach Stormhenge, so we will send you out this way. Like so. We'll have Tavi transfer you back your units, and then we'll raise Stormhenge for the skulls. And, I do wonder whether we can auto-resolve it. Alright, Tavi, transfer. And then we'll summon the other Mauler in a moment. Alright, transfer, like so. Mauler, like so. Then we will grab you 2 more flesh hounds, 1 more bloodletter. And then this can now be swapped out into... Well, our control is dropping, so we'll probably want to do control for a while. Nothing here reduces the construction cost or time, meaning it doesn't matter. Alright, go for control. And we'll level up Gorgazan and get our first little iron thing next turn. Yeah. Alright, fair enough. We will be wanting to do some mortal recruiting. Otherwise, Stormhenge. I'm going to risk auto-resolving. I fear that it will do severe damage to us. But we could just do another little manual fight real quick. I mean, it is a Khornate campaign. There's probably going to be a little bit more... It's going to be a little bit more fighty. Unsurprisingly. Yeah, fine. Alright, let's do this real quick. Again, I just don't want to, at least for now, sit there healing up, or it's going to take too much time to, you know, well, sit there and heal up. Now, though, we will have to wait for the Blood Speaker to arrive. We can actually use him to heal Skarby, which will allow Skarby to channel again, which is actually of tremendous use to us. Alrighty, so, oh, you maintained the formation from last battle. Okay, I like it. Alright, start battle. Speed it up. You've got 1 minute and 50 seconds until you come in, obviously sped up, although you're probably traveling at least as fast as the Chaos Warriors of Khorne. Right, you go this way and then this way. You guys prepare to attack from this flank. Skarby. Okay, wait a moment. You guys can go here, you guys can go around, and they're doing that thing. Okay, well, let them do that. Alright, like so, there we go. We got our reinforcement on field. You go this way. Actually, you know what? Skarbrand, draw closer to him. He's not so badly damaged. Blood sacrifice immediately, please. Like so, and move back. Yeah, it'll hurt you, but we don't care that much about you. Alright, the rest of that looks good. You get behind the enemy army, Skarby, get ready to move in a moment. They've really swapped out some of their units, just waiting for our reinforcements to move on in. They can't fire upon us, you're nearly there. Alrighty, I'd like you to go this way, slow it back down, you to go this way. You guys get ready to rush the Savage Orc Arrow boys, you do the same. You can go around, hit them in the flanks. Actually, you can probably do the same. Alright, you guys move on up. And I would like you going this way, you going around. We need to engage that unit of Savage Orc Arrow boys. Skarby, do you want to... Yep. Wasn't there anything we could do about that anyway. And make sure to tie up those range units. Hey. Savage Orcs, go away. And let's cause some damage. Alright, we've left some holes in our lines. Perfect. Alright, you get ready to tie them up, you get ready to hit this, you get ready to, hit them in the rear. Alright, Skarby, force the rampage on these units, please. Maybe even move a little bit forward. Alright, good, good, good. You attack, you. Alright, you're nearly up. Switch the doggos to the Savage Orc Arrow boys. Do have to be careful, though, because Savage Orc Arrow boys do hit rather hard. Oh, I forgot about this guy. And his moving in. I'm going to say go for Wild Abandon on this unit because it's going to take the most damage. Let's also increase our biggest blob of fighters' fighting capabilities. You, hit them in the rear now, and we'll send the regular dogs since they're already severely damaged out this way. You guys are good. You can heal Skarby again to full because he's going to want to channel. You dogs rear charge this while the Bloodletters close the distance. And yeah, you go Blood Sacrifice Skarby again at the cost of your own HP. Lovely. And alright, Chaos Warriors, you go this way. Bloodletters give chase to this unit, and... Alright. Again, later on, these minor little battles where the enemy has no chance, we will just be auto-resolving, but obviously, in the very, very early game, I just want to be wary of it. Especially until we get that tech, that +5 casualty punishment tech. Or until we've got the points and the abilities that will enable us to recover movement range, as that will also help us out tremendously. Alright, you guys are good. You have healed up Skarby now. That unit of Savage Orcs is destroyed. There we go. You guys cut down what remains. And you can cut this down. I'm going to speed this up. Lovely. And, okay, guys, give chase, give chase. Kill it all. Again, I'm not 100% sure that there's a benefit to doing this, but, you know, I've grown into the habit from playing Chaos Dwarfs, and I don't see why not. Alright, good enough. Oh, wait. This way we only had 64 casualties. The HP has been topped up on Skarby at the cost of Tavi's HP, but if Skarby's channeling, and then, you know, it makes sense. Ooh, hopefully this will have leveled him up to 4. I would love to see Khorne's Bloody Fist and, well, see Khorne's Bloody Fist on field in the first episode. Dawnstone. Okay. Alright, I will go for skulls for the Skull Throne here, though funnily enough this would help us replenish, but we need the skulls. We need the skulls to occupy Galbaraz. Alright, you hold that Dawnstone, we got Coronate Corruption on Tavi, sure, hey, Agent of Blood, more replenishment, and hey, Khorne's Bloody Fist, which unfortunately we can't do in this territory. Then, we will want to... Actually, that's a question, and we could sack Galbaraz, then move to Granty Mingle, raise it, and then by the time we return to Galbaraz, we might be able to occupy it. Maybe I should have just let Gorgazan be a ruin and not used skulls to collect, but it doesn't really matter that much. So what I wanted to do here was Tavi, you go into encamp. Skarby, I would like you to switch to combat trials again. Keep topping yourself up and channeling. And then go to Tavi. We'll keep doing this until Skarby's maxed out. Also, I guess we'll have you deliver Khorne's Bloody Fist. Next turn, mind you, but that's fine. Gorgazan, I would like you to upgrade to the Dark Bastion. We'll keep Agril Migdala as a Dimensional Tear, and then we'll want you to upgrade as a Dark Bastion as well, but we'll also want enough money to grab Khorne's Bloody Fist, which I assume Skarbrand can't get for cheaper. Yet? Or can he? No, he's still got the upkeep production immediately. Alright. And we will hold on to the rest of his points. Although what we will not hold on to is your points. You can grab Inspiring Presence immediately for the additional XP, and then you little fella. I'm going to say you don't need to hold on to points, right? I like that campaign movement range, but isn't anything crazy. I also like that post-battle loot. This all comes in a rank 10. So we could, in theory, just go through this. We also got additional character XP for Lord. Yeah, you know what? Maybe hold on to your points. Plus, we got to get Locus of... I want to say Fury? No. Wrath? Yes. Melee attack plus 40. Yeah. Seems to be the best call. Anyway, skip, and end the turn. And I know that we're not giving any skulls to the Skull Throne, dedicating them rather, as yet, but it will happen eventually. Also, obviously, we can set up into the stance to generate more skulls per unit, rather than Skarby doing that himself, but right now I'd rather maintain the HP. As who knows how many units these guys will have. Also gotta keep an eye on him re-attacking us, but frankly, the likelihood of them actually taking our capital, Death Gorge, is pretty much 0. Even if they are capable of taking the minor territories. Anyway, RAGER, you are going to go... Okay, you're going to go right to the edge of this territory, like so. Skarby and co, I would like you to proceed to Galbaraz, like so and like so. You can keep on channeling until you're either max or close to max. Ooh, hello. These guys are recruiting nicely. That'll be a fight for us at Galbaraz. Ooh, there will definitely be a fight for us to get Galbaraz. That's what I like to see. That'll be a nice final fight for this first episode. Skarby, hold on to your points. Though, you know what? Maybe we'll take the 1 point in Skull Takers. Even if we eventually swap out all the Bloodlayers out of his army, there's a decent likelihood that we keep some Blood Crushers, just to be able to chase stuff. Especially since Harbingers of Death buffs both of the Khorne's Bloody Fist, or the Soul Grinders, and the Bloodthirsters. So that kind of makes sense to me. Admittedly, a rather demonic-heavy army, which, well, we'll just see how it works. Yeah, go for 1 point in Skull Takers. And we'll save the rest of the points for Rage Incarnate and all that. Alright, you channel for 1 more turn, buddy. And we'll swap the units and get ready to move on. And you will have to march stance to deliver the Khorne's Bloody Fist, but you'll have to do it next turn. We'll check Diplo real quick, and then we'll end the turn. Red Fangs want to peace out. They're currently fighting Moors. We could take their money, but it's so little money, it's probably not worth our time. Top Knots want to peace out. That's not going to happen. I am still of the opinion that Khorne should be unable to peace out. Like any Khornate faction should just be unable to peace out. It shouldn't be an option for them. They don't have to start at war with every faction, but I think once they declare war, I don't think Khorne would be like, oh yeah, you can peace out. Anyway, end turn. That's exactly what Khorne sounds like, by the way. Just amusing myself. Almost as if it's a Slaaneshi campaign. Anyway, the non-aggression pact with Moors. I mean, we could do it temporarily. We could always betray them later if we wanted to. Huh. I might, you know what? I'll hold off on it for now. I might hold a vote as to whether we actually want to ally with anybody or whether we just want to kill everybody. Again, with the sole exception of some Norse guns up north and some Chaos Dwarves just for their units, but generally speaking, while we could ally with the orcs and stuff, and I do admit Savage Orcs, or not Savage Orcs, well, actually, yes, Savage Orcs, but also Black Orcs and stuff would work nicely in some of our armies, though our own infantry is better than theirs anyway. I'll think about it, and I might do a vote down below. Alrighty, and Skarby, you cannot reach. Oh. You yourself cannot do it either. Alright, well, I guess we got one more turn to channel. Let's get the Khorne's Bloody Fist. Minus, yeah. There goes all our cash. But hey, you gotta spend souls to take souls. Income from post-battle loot? Yeah, let's do the income from post-battle loot. It's only 2 turns. We haven't unlocked some of the other things anyway. I don't really care about the blood hosts right now. Alright, then I would like Skarby to go right here, presumably. Yeah, oh, actually you can go a little bit further. Do we want you to channel for one more turn to top yourself up? I don't think these guys are going to attack us out here. At least I doubt it. Alright, fine. You're going to go to raiding. Out here. No. Don't trade troops yet. Yeah, a little bit of cash. You. March stance. Trade to... Oh, actually don't trade to Skarby. Trade to this little fella. We should be just in range. Alright, whatever. Alright, I'm getting distracted because I can hear my neighbor's dog barking. You know, it's kind of hard to think when just bark, bark, bark. But anyway, just pretend it is the baying of the hounds of Khorne if the mic is picking it up. Go to Tavi. Like so. Transfer. Beautiful. We had a full stack. 17 out of 20. A few heroes, and that'll probably round it out nicely. Just want to take a quick look at what we have as other options. Upkeep production for... Ooh, we should get you. Alright, as soon as we have cash. Disdainful and... Yeah, I want this upkeep reduction, Seeker of Battle. We'll be able to transfer the blood letters, especially if we exaltedify them later. To that army. Presuming that they aren't in this army. Wait a second. Huh. Wait, we can't upgrade exalted blood letters of Khorne to skull crushers? Or blood crushers, rather? That's a little bit odd. And I noticed that the Wrathmonger chain isn't here either. I might get the SFO variant of this mod that might increase the capability. I guess it hasn't been updated to some of the newer Khornate stuff. Is that the reason? But I digress. Let's skip. And end the turn. There's nothing to upgrade. You're being upgraded. You have not yet grown to where you need to be. So let's end the turn. Hit Galbaraz, sack Galbaraz, then hit Granti Mingol, raise Granti Mingol, retake Galbaraz, and then that'll be this faction completely destroyed. We will want to, just in case, keep an eye out on the Harbinger of Disaster. If they take Galbaraz from us, we'll have to wipe them out, because obviously Galbaraz is as an ancient boneyard. Skulls gained from Killzone armies faction-wide is rather useful to us, and I wouldn't say no to another Blood Reaper either. Especially before we delete that building and, well, admittedly replace it in another territory, but... By the looks of it, these guys will, in fact, not sally out. Alright, fair enough, Skarby. I'm gonna say no on the Feral Rage. I mean, maybe Feral Rage. Out of curiosity. 45 seconds. Yeah, but they do need to take damage. I was wondering whether we could get the Savage Orc Bearer boys to... Yeah, they're all good. Let's get Galbaraz. With Skarbrand in the lead, and very nice. Huh. We might actually be able to get them to sally out and fight us in the field. I would really prefer that to the siege, so in that light, I would like you to go into summoning stance just to get the additional Khornate corruption. We need to Khornify the province. Transfer, and then you can do the same. Summoning. Everybody in summoning. And, I mean, what else would you want your blood speakers to be doing anyway? Actually, what we really do need is some Khornate cultists, or cultists of Khorne. They are built out of this territory, this building, rather. The armory. Which, funnily enough, we would want in this territory, but... the hero capacity doesn't increase until we get to tier 3. So there is the argument to be made for upgrading this thing instead. I really do want that cultist, but until tier 3... Oh, and if Khemri comes around, then the investment will have gone to nothing because they will immediately attack us. In fact, wait, they are still at war with Numas and have started fighting the Necrarch Brotherhood. Strength rank 3 already, but that's Tomb Kings for you. And, ooh, right. What we will definitely want, though, is Ironbrow's Expedition. In fact, we'll probably want to repeatedly kill them, but not wipe them out. Plus, it'll give us a source of, you know, dwarfs to fight. Because the Ironbrow has a really good defeat trait that would work on various of our armies. Anyway, let's build some siege equipment just in case, but I'm pretty sure that they will sally out. Like so. And let's end the turn. Alright. Now this should be a pretty nice final fight for the episode, with them at a, what, nearly 2 stacks between the garrison and Mash One Finger's main stack. I'll be so disappointed if they don't attack. But then again, I do like the Khornate siege towers, so then we'd be able to attack in a siege, so why not? And moment of truth, they will indeed sally out. Pyrrhic victory! Khorne's Bloody Fist plus Skarby together. That's a lot of savage orcs. Let's see how many of them we can cut down. Go.
Only slaughter can sate it, then more slaughter.
Alrighty, here we go. Skarby looks pretty happy to get started on this nearly 2 full stacks versus our nearly 1 full stack as well. Plus the debut of Khorne's Bloody Fist, which is flying around up there, and Skarby, I'm sure, looking on in tremendous jealousy. I was tempted to just sort of get a few bloodthirsters and just sort of make it a little bloodthirster command squad with Skarbrand and keep them on foot rather than flying. I kind of like the idea of Skarby forcing them to not fly around, but anyway, I digress. Time to move. We waited for our reinforcements, if not quite to arrive on field, at least be close to it. And then start moving towards the enemy range units. Obviously, our shielded units of Chaos Warriors will lead, but Skarbrand will rather quickly outrun them before closing the distance with the biggest blob of range units that he can, and then forcing them into Rampage with his Rage embodied ability. Alrighty, and he will distract them for a decent amount of time until the Bloodletters are able to bring up the rear and close the distance. We're going to keep the 2 units of our Chaos Warriors essentially on the flanks here, while all the Bloodletters go through the center, where Skarbrand is acting as the tip of the spear. Otherwise, the enemy has actually split its army into 2. There's 2 choke points on the map, and the rest of the enemy seems to want to loop around us, so we need to either cut these guys down or leave enough of a sort of few extra units to hold the enemy off when they come on in. Anyway, the Bloody Fist of Khorne whacking away at the enemy with his big old great weapon, but unfortunately getting focused down and losing 15% of his HP rather rapidly to the enemy anti-large range fire. Again, not to be underestimated. So, in that light, if we can't keep the Khorne's Bloody Fist in combat and melee, like Skarbrand here... Oh, love that animation. Then Khorne's Bloody Fist will instead head directly towards those Savage Orc Error Boys and tie them up and kill them all, plus any of the Boar Boys that he can catch. You gotta love watching Bloodthirsters. And I can't wait to get some exalted Bloodthirsters as well. That'll be very nice. With all of the sort of armor and the sort of brass trinkets that they've got all over them. Anyway, enemy's second stack is still attempting to close the distance, but it looks like one of the enemy Boar Boys will actually nearly catch one of our newly arriving Blood Speakers. To counteract this, what we do is we activate Wild Abandon on the Chaos Warhounds of Khorne, which lowers their melee defense to nothing, but gives them the Cannot Die for 30 seconds. This allows them to take the entirety of the charge of the Boar Boys and suffer not a lot of, well, suffer no kills, even if they suffer a ton of damage, and then allows the Fleshhounds to close the distance with the Boar Boys once the enemy charge is broken. This has now allowed the Bloodspeaker to escape without endangering the pups too much, and we will now move them back towards our main line, where the fight as yet continues. Looks like Skarbrand has fought through the enemy ranks to find the enemy lord, who is going to have a pretty darn bad day here. He will once again activate that Wa, but once again I feel it is in desperation. He has a little chance of success here, at least against Skarby one-on-one. Although I suppose the same thing can't quite be said of his army. Although the choke point is actually working... I don't know if it's in the enemy's favor or in our favor more. On the one hand, the enemy can't surround us with their greater numbers. On the other hand, they were able to force us to keep the Khorne's Bloody Fist out of the main melee by virtue of threatening both it and Skarbrand with the range unit. What I think takes the prize, or gives us the edge, I should say, is the fact that with the two Bloodspeakers supporting, we have murderous exhortations available to us, forcing enemies to lower their leadership and also dishing out damage in an area. Alright, it looks like Skarbrand's killed off the enemy lord now, sending many a savage orc flying with his kicks. And by the looks of it, the first enemy stack has at this point completely broken. So we're going to send all of our bloodletters and all of our dogs to chase down this portion of the enemy army, this first stack. While the second stack has arrived, what we're going to do is have the Chaos Warriors of Khorne attempt to hold off the entire second stack to the best of their abilities. How long they'll be able to hold remains to be seen. But they are a lot tankier than the Bloodletters are, so they should be a little bit more effective at this than a set of Bloodletters would, and especially with the Bloodletters of faster movement range, they're better able to chase the enemies down and to cut them down faster as they run. This is a garrison that's sallied out after all. Ooh, love that axe throw from Skarbrand. Yeah, this is a garrison, and we need to chase down and kill off as many units, essentially adding another element to this particular battle. Alright, Skarbrand looks like he's having fun, and at least this ensures rather that the units of Chaos Warriors of Khorne are not alone out here. That said, Skarbrand is taking many an arrow as he fights, as once again there are enemy range units focusing him down. What we will need to maybe try to do is try to force our way towards the other range units and force them into Rampage. And otherwise keep those heals up on Skarbrand to make sure that he can keep fighting, at least until he reaches his healing cap. And all the while, keep holding ground as we chase the other units down. Fortunately, it does seem to be working reasonably well. The Chaos Warriors of Khorne holding back the massive tides of the Greenskins until the Bloodletters arrive to lend their Hellblades to the fray. And tactically, admittedly, there isn't much to say about this, but it's just a big bloody brawl with massive losses probably on both sides, and this is exactly the way that Khorne would have it. And I gotta say, if the two units of Chaos Warriors of Khorne manage to survive this, and by the looks of it, they will. Now, these two will definitely deserve to eventually be upgraded to Chosen, most likely. And how are we doing otherwise? The Khorne's Bloody Fist is still not here, as it was chasing down some trolls, but it looks like most of the first stack has at this point now been destroyed. Skarbrand has reached his healing cap and is about at 70%, unfortunately due to the range fire, and is going to actually try to get around the enemy. He has forced the other Savage Orc Air Boys into Rampage, but one unit was far enough away to not be reachable. And we still have to go after them. Yeah, there's still plenty of Savage Orcs remaining, and yet another Wa activation helping them out. But how long will the Wa last? And especially now that the bloodletters are here penetrating that war paint with their magical damage, we aren't anywhere nearly as concerned. Khorne's Bloody Fist gonna use its wings to close the distance with that darn annoying unit of error boys, and Skarbrand will walk towards it. Looks pretty tired by the way he's walking. Down to 60 speed, thanks to exhausted. There we go. I love when the monsters kick things and they explode into bloody bits. And I don't think that Savage Orc Air Boy unit will achieve anything else as the two bloodthirsters tear it to shreds. Another Murderous Exhortations activates in the midst of the enemy blob, and the last units of our bloodletters have arrived, while our dogs have arrived as well. Skarbrand and the Khorne's Bloody Fist will rear charge, and the enemy's still held in the choke point, and that terrifying charge sends the rest of them into shatter and gives the battle to us. Very nice work for everybody, especially those Chaos Warriors of Khorne, but frankly, I'm sure every single unit of ours got a massive number of damage and kills here, massive amount of damage and kills here. Very nice, and we will do our best to chase everything down, but thanks to those flesh hounds, we should be able to do so pretty darn effectively. Alrighty, there we go. Now that's what I call a sort of capstone fight for the first episode. Lots and lots of kills. 3.9k Savage Orcs cut down by 1,000. Khornates. Skarby himself got 50,000 damage and 380 kills, though damage-wise, the two Bloodspeakers actually kept up with Skarby. Obviously not damage dealt as gold value-wise or kill-wise, but those Murderous Exhortations in a blob of enemies in a choke point really works out well. The Khorne's Bloody Fist did well as well with 34k thousand damage. Could have gotten plenty more, but it had to go after those annoying range units, which had so severely depleted Skarbrand's HP that he had lost his healing cap, which is obviously quite dangerous. The hounds proved quite useful in chasing half of the enemy army down, and frankly, the two Chaos Warriors of Khorne were absolute heroes for holding off a full, half of the two enemy stacks, a full stack of enemies essentially, while we cut down the rest of them to make sure that they couldn't run. And very nice all around. And we are going to reap those captives for 7.5 thousand skulls, which will actually allow us to immediately take the place. Reap captives. Yes. Not gonna say no to 7.5k skulls, and that'll actually allow us to send a few to the Skull Throne. Probably not immediately. Numas destroyed, ooh, and diplomatic relations with Khornate factions. Counteracts the anti-Khornate faction relationship. Alrighty, income from post-battle loot plus 10% researched, and there will be other stuff to do in Galbaraz to take, but we are out of time on this first episode, and I think I am going to call this episode right here. We'll deal with this the next time. Well, I mean, I guess we could take this place. Oh, although funnily enough, we could, you know what, I will think about it. We could use one of you to occupy the place. It doesn't have any breaches, but at the same time, this will enable Skarbrand to maintain his movement range. We would just have to sack Galbaraz, but frankly it's a tier 2 anyway, so it probably won't matter. I will think about it. On the other hand, we wouldn't be able to reach this place in one turn anyway, so we'll take a look at the Skull Throne options at the start of next episode, and we will occupy Galbaraz and probably have to move quickly to reposition to most likely be fighting Cetra rather soon. He's basically not going to give us an option about it, but maybe not with our main army. I really wanted Skarbrand to move north and head into the Empire rather than sort of putter around the desert and the Badlands for too long. I just think it would be more fun, but we should be able to get lots of armies up and running and doing stuff all over the place relatively quickly. It is Khorne after all, so stay tuned for all that. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.